Hey everyone, this is Laura Godenik with Laura Godenik Astrology, and I'm here to give you the astrology for the weeks of June 27th through July 10th, 2022. So today, on Monday, the 27th, we have Mars in Aries making a sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. Mars is the planet about our action, our energy, how we are motivated, and Mars wants to do hard things and do them pretty quickly. It's a fast moving, or kind of a planet associated with fast paced and urgency. Saturn is a planet about slowness, about time, things that take time to come about or come to fruition. Saturn is about hard labor, hard work, discipline, commitment, endurance. And so when these two planets come together in a positive aspect, this is about productivity, getting stuff done, doing hard things, having sustained energy, being able to push through something, and perhaps do things that you wouldn't otherwise have the motivation or stamina to do. It's likely you will have felt this a couple days prior, and you'll also be feeling this energy for a few days into the week, so take advantage of it while it's here. Okay, Tuesday the 28th, we have our new moon in Cancer. So this is at 7 degrees of Cancer, and also this new moon is making a square to the planet Jupiter. So new moons are all about beginnings, about planting seeds, about starting something new, about setting an intention. And this is going to be in the part of your chart that has Cancer on the cusp. So if you know a little bit about astrology and know the house systems, for instance, if Cancer rules your first house of self, body, identity, it might be planting a seed about how you want to show up in the world, how you want to interact with others, how you might want to identify or show your identity, or something about self, body, maybe physicality. If it's the second house, it'll be about money, finances, resources. What seeds do you want to plant around that? On my YouTube channel, there's a link to the houses, like a PDF. I'd recommend looking at that, finding out what your rising sign is, and looking at your birth chart and finding the house that has Cancer on the cusp. Now, that'll give you more info as to where the seed is being planted. So a square to Jupiter. Squares are of the nature of Mars. They're a bit intense. There might be some conflict there. But with Jupiter being a benefic planet, a planet about joy, optimism, abundance, generosity, it's likely the square is not going to be felt as being bad. It might be just like too much of a good thing, or having an idea or an intention that is larger than life, or, there is the kind of like aspect of maybe it being too big, or not having a plan beneath it, or it being not obtainable. So just kind of watch out for that. But at the same time, during this new moon, Venus is making a sextile to Jupiter. So these are the two benefics coming together in a very auspicious, fortunate, easeful, opportunity-filled aspect. So that is some really good energy to start something, to plant that seed. This is really auspicious for starting something new, but it does need to be followed through with action, right? We can't just like plant a seed and then never water it. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, definitely take advantage of this new moon. Set your intentions, create an altar, say a prayer, really maybe create an action plan of what you're wanting to start. It's really, really good energy. Okay, Friday, we have a bit of a turn of energy, right? Like the beginning of the week is like productive, good, helpful, useful, good energy, fortuitous. And then Friday, on July 1st, we have Mars making a square to Pluto. So remember, squares are of the nature of Mars, so there's some sort of like conflict or challenge associated with this aspect. And Mars is the planet not only of our energy and how we take action and how we do things, but it's also how we fight. It's how we protect and defend. It's a planet about going after something. It's a planet about our anger and how we experience anger. And Mars is a malefic planet, so it does have some more negative associations to it. And when it makes a square to other planets that are also challenging, like Pluto, it can be a bit tense. Pluto is a planet about life and death situations. It can be very passionate, but also very obsessive, and things take on a very kind of obsessive or serious nature, like they are of life or death stakes. Pluto is a planet that wants to get to the bottom of things. Pluto is a planet that represents, things, if you think about like digging into the ground, it's like, what might you find? Will you find gold? Or will you find a skeleton? Like, will you find rot? So not everything with Pluto is pretty. And sometimes that is exactly what happens with Pluto transits. It's that something not pretty is being brought up to the surface and revealed. This aspect could signify a power struggle, a conflict, maybe getting to the root of a conflict, although it sounds a bit more difficult, and I don't know if it sounds like things will be resolved. It's definitely a transit of being kind of easily irritated or irritable. There could be like a really intense drive to do something or to get something done or to take action on something, which can be positive, right? Like, it could be that like, oh, I have to just clean my house right now. Like it's kind of this obsessive compulsive behavior, which could be positive. Can also represent kind of like hypersexuality and, especially these are like kind of more masculine planets. So hypersexuality maybe even coming from the more masculine side of humanity. So not to say that that's a negative or a bad thing, but it definitely can be like overdrive and be kind of aggressive. So just kind of be mindful and careful about that. Overall, compulsive behavior, this aspect definitely signifies like a need, a life and death need to do something. And just make sure that if and when you do that thing, that it's going to serve you, because might not. Okay, so we're going to be feeling that energy probably, even now you might have started to feel it. Definitely starting on like Tuesday and Wednesday, it'll be feeling stronger. Saturday, the 2nd, July 2nd, is a bit of a doozy. It's like also a day where there's something good happening and there's also something more challenging happening. So Mercury, planet of the mind, the mentality, of communication, speech, exchanges. Mercury is in its own sign of Gemini, which is good. This means that communication flows easily, things might be going well, exchanges might be going well, like purchases, buying and purchasing, if you are someone who does that. Mercury is making a very helpful trine to Saturn. Saturn is, remember, discipline, focus, commitment, follow through, stability. So this feels like there's, kind of mental focus and persistence in something that might be mentally challenging. And this is this is a stabilizing aspect. However, later in the day, Mercury is making a square to Neptune, which is, remember, squares are kind of more of the challenge. It's a challenging aspect. And whenever outer planets are involved in like squares or oppositions, another challenging aspect, there's more of the negative parts that come out of the outer planet. So kind of the more negative qualities of Neptune is this kind of like fog, deceptiveness, bleariness, or kind of like confusion. With Mercury in particular, miscommunication is very common. Deception even. I would be very hesitant to make solid plans over the weekend and just kind of ride the wave and go with the flow as much as possible. There might be some like mental confusion or fog. It kind of feels like a Mercury retrograde moment, to be honest. So just being mindful of that in like how you go about your day and, like your purchases or things you might like writing or things you might put out into the world for others to read. I would just be kind of careful. It also kind of depends on like what house Mercury rules for you. Those topics could come into question as well and be kind of confusing. And I know for me, so like I'm a Virgo and I'm a Gemini rising. So Mercury is like my planet. Like it's a really important planet for me. And with it ruling my first house of self and body, and with it coming into the square with Neptune, I feel a little worried about getting sick because I've noticed that whenever my ruling planet, Mercury, comes into harsh aspect with Neptune, or when the sun does, the sun kind of represents our vitality and like our chi and our energy, I get sick or I feel exhausted, or just really, I need to chill out, not have any plans, and just kind of like, melt into the day. So do that as much as you can for Saturday, maybe even Sunday, and also Friday, especially with that Mars-Pluto square. You might get angry or upset or aggressive, or someone in your sphere, your life might kind of have those feelings or kind of that impulse to get upset or angry, but maybe with not all the information. Maybe it's based on a miscommunication. Maybe there's something that new information that hasn't been revealed yet, so I think that's important to note. Okay, Tuesday, July 5th, Mars heads into Taurus. So this brings Mars's energy, action, energy to the Taurus part of your chart, whatever house that has Taurus on the cusp. So Mars is a planet that wants to do things fast. It's speedy, right? It rules Aries, the first sign of spring. It's ready to get going. It's ready to charge after something. Taurus, however, is a very steady and slow wins the race kind of sign. It's the middle of spring. There's this quality of endurance and steadiness and not wanting to be rushed. So Mars in Taurus is inherently a little frustrating for the planet Mars. So there might be some frustrating aspects that are coming into your life, particularly in the house that has Taurus on the cusp. And also when Mars ingresses into Taurus, it'll be in the same sign as Uranus and the north node of the moon. So this is already a pretty sensitive and active part of the chart for this year and into next year and further on as well. So yeah, Mars can bring frustration, Mars can bring conflict, Mars can bring endurance in the sign of Taurus and needing to like work slow and steady on something with patience. Especially when Mars conjoins Uranus, which I don't exactly know when that is. It'll be in a couple weeks, perhaps like a month. That could be a bit volatile. So the last time Mars was entered Taurus was January of 2021, and it was like the day that Mars entered Taurus in the same sign as Uranus that there was the invasion of the Capitol by that kind of like radical QAnon alt-right group. So I'm not super excited about Mars moving to Taurus, but there are ways to utilize the energy positively, and that is like finding a project, chipping away at it slowly, and maybe starting something that's going to take a lot of time and patience and persistence. Okay, and there'll be more on that in the next video as well. On the same day, Mercury enters Cancer, so Mercury being the planet of the mind. Cancer is a sign about hearth, home, and stomach. So, Cancer is very focused on comforts and security and emotions and, things that feel good, things that are comfortable and safe, nurturing others. So the mind becomes focused on these things as well. A mind is focused on house topics, on home, on family, on comfort, emotions, like snacks. What's your comfort food? The sun has moved recently into the sign of Cancer, and like last night I was like, oh, I really want some ice cream. And I don't normally crave ice cream or like sweet things, but it just sounded so comfortable and sweet. And so I'm just like noticing energetically, like as the planets shift into different signs, I notice in myself how the energy is manifesting in like different phases that I am going through or feeling. Cancer is also the cusp of my second house of money, finances, and resources. So I definitely notice myself thinking more about those things and being like, oh, okay, like maybe I kind of want to get maybe a second job for the summer, and just kind of like thinking more about that. Whereas before it wasn't really a priority. So just kind of noticing as Mercury moves into Cancer, how is that showing up for you? How is that showing up for you and your mind, and what are you thinking more about? Are you thinking more about those Cancer topics? So as Mercury moves into Cancer and Mars moves into Taurus, they make a sweet sextile. This is very, you might not even notice it. It's very subtle. But there's something about maybe like a quickness to speech or communication, or a desire to take action or do something, Mars, that maybe involves more like mental creativity, or like, I don't know, like I'm thinking like coming up with a new recipe to cook, or creating a cozy fort to like chill out and relax in, you know, like little things like that. So yeah, that's Tuesday, July 5th. Friday the 8th, the Sun in Cancer makes a square to Chiron. This feels kind of like dancing around a wound, or kind of tending to a wound. Remember, Sun in Cancer is about tending to, caring for, emoting, being present for emotions, and Chiron is our wound, where we are feeling some sort of pain or woundedness. The square signifies some sort of challenge or conflict around this. So it could be kind of a sensitive day. So being mindful of that, sensitive emotionally. But there's always that opportunity for tending to those sensitivities when they come up. Saturday the 9th, Mercury in Cancer makes a square to Jupiter. This feels like big ideas, big vision, conversations that are maybe philosophical, or very broad, or having kind of, just like big idea of like what you might want to start focusing on. Could also indicate some good news coming through, but with maybe like a twist or a compromise, or something, it's not, because it's a square, so it's not super easy or flowing or easeful. There's some sort of like twist that comes with it, but overall it feels really good, because Jupiter is a very beneficial, benefic, positive planet. The only thing I could think of in terms of like the conflict, right? So Mercury in Cancer is like way focused on security, on comfort, on being safe. Whereas Jupiter in Aries is very focused on taking a risk, taking a chance, just do it, just go for it, and believing that things will work out. So there could be something on this day or around this day, like a day before, a day after, that comes up for you around like that inner conflict of like Mercury in Cancer being like, oh, but is that safe? Is that the right thing to do? Is that the smart thing to do? Like, what's that gonna bring down the road, right? But then Jupiter kind of urging or egging you on, like, just do it, go after it, believe in yourself. And so that could manifest like internally as kind of an internal conflict or push and pull of like what you should do. So Sunday the 10th, the Sun in Cancer makes a sextile to Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is all about freedom, innovation, revelation, revolution. The Sun is the self, our vitality, our chi, our life force energy. And so this is about innovating something, about maybe your day, or how you express yourself, or how, like, who you are. Maybe trying something new that day, not going with the norm of your daily schedule. And this could, once again, like the Sun being in Cancer and Uranus being in Taurus, this makes me think of like things that are comfortable and cozy, like doing something innovative or unique or different around things like food, a new recipe, like, or a new, like, I don't know, like going and getting a massage that you wouldn't normally pay for, right? Something involving comfort and coziness, and making it, around those themes, like doing something different outside of the box that you wouldn't normally do. So that feels like a really fun, good, easy aspect. And that is the astrology of the next couple weeks. I hope that was helpful. Please reach out if you are interested in understanding how the astrology is impacting you and your personal chart now. I'm open for readings. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful couple of weeks and a wonderful new moon in Cancer, and I will be back in 2 weeks for the next astrological update.